Hello everyone, how you all doing? Welcome to another video. In the series of videos that we've been doing preparing for Inertia Demo Party, we're starting to have to reach the seminar September that we've been calling, where throughout the September we're going to have different seminars on different topics from active demo seniors explaining different parts of demo making, and to start things up on this road to inertia it's the demo party that we're organizing. That's going to be on the 2nd and 3rd of October. Leading up to that, throughout September, we're going to have different seminars, as I was saying, and the seminars are supposed to teach you the ways of demo making. So to kick things off, I thought that the best idea would be to explain what the Demoscene is overall. And for that, there's actually a text that I wrote, a small guidebook of some sort. It was based out of a Poet thread. Poet is a Demoscene website, very famous one. And on this thread, a lot of people were bouncing around ideas for things to attract newcomers and explain demo scene culture to newcomers. And there should be some sort of guide, like there is programming for dummies or learning to clean your house or whatever like that. There should be something like that for the demo scene. So I picked up that idea and I wrote this thing called Teach Yourself Demo Scene in 14 Days. I'm going to show you the screen right here. So it's free for download. It's on this repository right here, github.com/psenough. Teach yourself demo scene in 14 days. And I divide it in 14 days step. And I truly, honestly believe that if you follow these 14 days of trying to understand what the demo scene is and find your way within the demo scene, at the 14th day you will be able to have something to present to a demo party and feel proud of yourself. So considering that today is the 13th of September and Inertia is at the 2nd of October, if you follow these steps for the next 14 days, you should be able to create some entries for Inertia demo party. Which is important, at least for me, because I'm spending a lot of my time invested in organizing Inertia Demo Party for what might be the last time ever. I'm going to show you the website for Inertia. And I've been organizing Inertia Demo Party since 2001. And yeah, it's a long-running demo scene event. It's been a part of my demo scene career in a way to organize Inertia Demo Party. So yeah, I hope to have a lot of participations this year, despite it being online or in spite of being online. So yeah, anyways, let's get started. So my main focus will be reading this through. I will not be doing it in a boring way, I hope. We'll try to emphasize things and do some parentheses and maybe show you some of the web pages that make a little sense. One of the first demo pages that I can show you immediately is the Wikipedia article on the demo scene, which is quite decent. It's quite good. It explains things very narrowly. I will summarize this on the first chapters of the seminar. So let's get right into it. So day one of Demoscene, teach yourself in Demoscene in 14 days. Day one is what is the Demoscene? Asking yourself what is the Demoscene and finding out what the Demoscene is about. So the Demoscene is an underground computer art culture. The term Demoscene comes from the word demo. It's short for demonstration. In the context of the Demoscene, the word demo means a real-time audiovisual application which is demonstrating the capabilities of the machine it runs on. So it's demonstrating what the machine can do. Demo sceners, also known as sceners, are what we call the folks like me. I'm a demo scener which have too much free time to use their computer skills to create releases under the demo scene. So if you do stuff under the demo scene, you're called a demo scener. Demo sceners often use nicknames, which is pretty common on the internet nowadays, and they tend to work together in groups, and these groups of people tend to be called demo groups because they're groups of demo sceners. One thing that you should be aware of in the demo scene is that there is no commercial purpose for the demo scene. The only thing that you'll get out of the demo scene, and this comes only after you invest a significant amount of time into doing demo scene stuff regularly, The only thing that you will get out of it is some soft skills and different aspects of life, which will inherently be important for your job and your personal well being, and a large community of computer nerd friends, which is also quite important, especially if you like computers, or if you like nerds, or if you like friends. Demoscene releases are meant to show the limits of the machines, the technical skills, and artistic sensibility of the makers. There are no rules to what kind of release you can make on the Demoscene. Some demos are made as technical benchmarks, some demos are made as conceptual art, and some are just done for fun, for kicks, because we are bored. It is entirely up to you to explore what you like doing, what kind of demos you want to be doing, and share it with other Demosceners in demo parties, like in Inertia Demo Party. Demoscene releases can be divided into certain categories. You have a track, which is an audio piece. It can be an executable format. It can be a tracker module. I will show you what trackers are in a bit. Or a pre-rendered WAV or MP3 format, which is more common knowledge for people nowadays. It can also be a graphics entry. That means it's a drawn thing. It can be also rendered by a 3D rendered engine. So it's an image with fixed resolution and or a restricted color palette. Especially on older platforms, you see a lot of restrictions in terms of what colors you can use. A demo is an audiovisual real-time executable demonstration for a certain platform, as you already mentioned. Another category common in the demo scene is the intro category, which is typically a demo, but with a file size limitation, where the executable can only have certain number of bytes, and everything that it uses must be contained in that executable. So no external sources can be used, like you can't import an image or stuff like that. Which demos typically do, but intros typically do not. Another format that we have on the demo scene are animations, which are just rendered graphics videos, like you have animation movies. Demo pack categories, a collection of demos in a single disc. Nowadays it's not very known, but back in the 80s and 90s there were a lot of demo packs, groups that specialized in putting a lot of packs into a single disc, and then they would trade that disc to other people, and people would get the demos out of that, and they would get their demos through demo packs of a certain group collecting things. There's also what we call the music disc, which is a collection of demo scene tracks in an executable with a player interface. Usually it's an interface like a Winamp sort of thing, but customized specifically for that music disc. And you can click around different songs, and there's some information tags, and skip to the next one, pause, play, that kind of stuff. It's a nice immersive experience to enjoy your album of music. Sort of thing. In the old days, we called it a music disc because it would be music that would fit into one single disc. There's also another category called Disc Mag, which was a collection of text about the demo scene with an executable graphics interface. So it's sort of like a zine or a magazine, but with an interface, and it would collect interviews, articles, party reports, all sort of text information about the demo scene. It was also very active in the Disc Mag scene, so I know quite a little bit about it. If you want to ask any specific questions about the Disc Mag scene. And then we have what is called a wild entry, where it can be anything that you can think of. Make a weird platform, do a live performance, play videos of certain demos on very weird platforms. Nowadays, it's very common to see Bad Apple being played on different platforms. That can be considered a wild entry if it's released within the context of the demo scene. Releases typically occur at demo parties, which are gathering events for demo sceners. Like Inertia Demo Party is the gathering event for demo sceners in Portugal. There are a lot of demo parties out there, but in Portugal there is only Inertia being organized currently. Demo parties come in many flavors, but they are usually 2 to 3 day events focused on bringing together demo sceners and challenge them to participate in a series of competitions, also called compos, on different categories. The entries are shown on the big screen, people vote for what they like best, and winners take home a symbolic prize, sometimes a trophy, sometimes money, sometimes random gifts that were sponsored to the event. Okay, given all this knowledge, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to, in 13 days, make your first Demoscene entry. Meet some fellow Demosceners, participate in a compo, add a demo party, hopefully in our demo party, and eventually make a mega demo shock to Japanese brain, as some seniors say. This is a saying from a Japanese magazine that would contact some European demo sceners asking them permission to include their demo in their Japanese mag, which came also with a CD-ROM. And that CD-ROM would contain a lot of different things, and they would like to include demos. So their email would often say, would you allow us to include your demo and create the big mega shock to Japanese brain? And people always found that funny, and it's still a meme to this day. Anyways, on this first day of the rest of your life, you should probably still Google a little bit more about what the Demoscene is and watch some demos in case you haven't seen any before in your life. I will also do some demo shows during this road to Inertia Demo Party, so subscribe to the channel and you'll eventually see a few of those. If you have trouble running most demos on your platform of choice, people do captures of them and put them up on YouTube. Anikras, for example, spent a lot of time capturing demos in high quality videos and uploading them to his YouTube channel, so that it's a link you can follow. It's there listed, which might be useful, although demos are always best experienced running live on their target platform. It's a very known discussion in the demo scene. Demos should always be played on the original hardware if possible. There's also a very good documentary about the demo scene called Moldman 2. You should check that. It's available free for view on YouTube nowadays, so just search for Moldman 2 and you will find it. And if you are a scholar of some sort, you can find a list of scientific writings regarding the demo scene at this demo scene research website hosted at kameli.net/demo research 2. If you want to log into several Demoscene websites, there's also this thing called Scene ID. It was developed by Scene.org, which is this non-profit organization based out of Europe, but with members throughout the Demoscene demographics. And they created the sign-in project that you can just have a Scene ID login and use that to log into different services within the Demoscene community. Some of the most famous examples are the Poet.net website, which is the largest site for scene-wide discussion. There's also DemoZoo, which is an alternative to Poet without all the hard-hitting comments. There's also Wanted website where you can post or try to help other people who are looking for collaboration work to do demos together. And there are a lot of other Demoscene websites with or without using Scene ID. Anyways, day number 2 of the 14 days. Find your vocation. So on the second day of the rest of your life, you should figure out what you want to do on the demo scene. A demo is usually a group effort. Sceners are typically divided into 3 roles: a graphician, responsible for the artwork, 3D modeling, and animations, musician, composer, and producer of the audio soundtrack, and the coder, the programmer of effects, and also some tools, which we sometimes call demo tools, which will enable you, a graphician or musician, to get the demo done before the deadline. We'll talk about deadlines and the importance of deadlines a bit later on. You can always just do everything yourself, have all these roles yourself, but it obviously requires a high time investment to be proficient in each of these areas. So it's common practice that seniors specialize in one of these roles while outsourcing some of the others to their group mates or random friends that they meet across their scene career. So it's up to you to decide what you want to do. You can always go back and learn something else, some of the other skills. It's nice to have a feel for the different ones, to have like a foot in each one of them. But if you want to finish a demo before the deadline, it really helps to know what you will be focusing on. So try to pick one and stick to that unless you really have to do something else. There's an additional role excuse me, there's an additional role on the demo scene, which is the role of the organizer or leader of the group. Often not directly involved in the practical production of demos, people in these roles are often critical to successful sprints and keeping the spirit alive within the group. The tasks can range from finding complementary group members for the project or managing moods, reminding of deadlines, organizing events, promoting releases, etc. So it's pretty much a project manager nowadays, but back in the days they were called organizers, group organizers. Nowadays, I think Demoscene all switched a little bit more into project-based thing, not a group-based thing. So it's no longer organizer or groups, but you end up being organizer of a certain project, which is the person that is pushing the most for the project to go forward and making sure that their vision is the one that is still on point throughout the whole project, and trying to get other people to help them meet that goal. So yeah, remember that demo seniors can easily wear multiple hats of these different roles. Don't be scared to try out the different roles, even if you don't stick with one. You will undoubtedly learn invaluable information on how things work, and that will allow you to communicate better with other people. This does not imply that it will be easy to master any of these roles. All of them are a lifelong commitment that take years of practice and exploration to achieve something good, or something that you could consider great yourself. But we all have to start somewhere, so this is a great place to start. So don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. So by the end of day 2, you should have an idea of what you want to more seriously explore. If you have any doubts on what is your preferred role, Google a little bit for each one of them, find some tutorials on them, and try to see something that interests you the most. Day number 3, we have to cover the basics of graphics. So the role of doing graphics for a demo is typically supported by the so-called graphician. To be a successful graphician in the demo scene, you should hopefully enjoy drawing and being randomly creative. There are many tools that you can use to draw graphics on the computer. Pixel art graphics typically focus on a limited palette of colors and image size. The restrictions come from the old school machines that had such limitations on the hardware, like the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, the VIC-20, those kind of machines. Some images are typically called sprites, or small images are typically called sprites. 2D animations are created by cycling between different frames of a sprite animation. This is important fundamentals for graphics. This is the basis of 2D animation. You can also Google for pixel art graphics tools. You'll find a bunch of editors, modern and old, for drawing pixel art. Some seniors will tell you about Graphics 2, which is really good, and there's also another very interesting tool called Multipaint, which you might also want to check out if you like pixeling graphics. If pixeling makes your stomach queasy, like it does for me, don't worry. That doesn't mean your career as a graphician will be over before it even started. You can still take the role of a 3D modeler. You can use programs like 3ds Maya, 3ds Max, Maya, Lightwave, ZBrush, etc. There are a lot of them. And become a 3D animator. You can animate a 3D model. You can do a lot of things with 3D, and you don't have to draw anything at all. You can just mess with 3D and lighting, rendering, those kind of things. Graphician is often also responsible for the overall design of the demo, including the concept, scenes composition, transitions between scenes, etc. Most graphicians are proficient with Photoshop and Illustrator, or they're free open source clones. There are a lot of different versions of these two programs. So by the end of this third day, you should know what tools to use if you want to do graphics for a demo or a graphics competition. Just try a few of them out, check some tutorials, learn the application shortcuts. That really helps you a lot to master the tool. And yeah, try a few things for a little while, and eventually you'll get the hang of it, or you'll figure out that you'll rather be doing something else. Day 4, let's talk about the basics of audio. There are many tools to produce audio freely available for download, ranging from sample editors to complete DAW solutions. If you don't know what the DAW means, it means digital audio workstation. So pretty much any program that does audio is pretty much a DAW. I don't know why they call them DAW. They just, people like to invent acronyms. Anyways, modern PC demos typically play a pre-recorded final mix of the audio. That means they just play the MP3 instead of mixing the tracks or mixing the samples. But the roots of the demo scene involve sample generation and the so-called tracker formats. So we'll cover them in a basic way here. Most demos for old school platforms still feature live mixing playback of a track. The tracker format can be divided into three main concepts. You have samples, you have instruments, patterns, and a sequencing order. You can typically load or configure the parameters of samples that can be played. Certain trackers allow you to configure samples into instruments by defining behaviors on how the sample will be played when triggered under different pitches. This is sounding complicated, I know, but it makes sense if you follow it. I'm going to show you briefly the page for what a tracker is. So there are a lot of formats for a tracker. There's the mod format, octalizer format, the old Octamed, the AHS, S3M, XM, IT. You see some examples here. I'm going to show you what an impulse tracker looks like, for example. It looks like something like this. There are multiple screens, but this is one of them. I can also show you what fast tracker looks like. It looks something like this, which is slightly different, but also somehow similar in a way. Notice how all of them have very weird interfaces. We'll get back to that in a little bit. So yeah, certain platforms also have sample and instrument restrictions, especially the old platforms like the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum and stuff like that. Such as only playing a sinus or a saw or square waveform. Usually the chips are limited, the sound chips are limited in that way. Or you can only use certain types of filters. The Commodore 64 is also known for that. These limitations on each sound chip gives it a signature sound. The exploration of this signature 8-bit and 16-bit sounds is what popularized the music genre known as chiptune. So chiptune was music made with sound chips. There are specific trackers for these kind of platforms as well. They're slightly different than the more common trackers, but they are still trackers nonetheless. Wide range of them. I can't cover them all here, but this is what you should be aware of if you're interested in doing music. To create sound for limited size intros on the Demoscene, demo makers have developed their own synthesizers, forcing the musicians to generate instruments procedurally. This is more for Windows and Macintosh. If you are doing intros for old school platforms, you have to use the trackers for those platforms. Anyways, forcing the musicians to generate instruments procedurally, storing the required function steps to recreate the instruments, the procedure to create the sound, and it takes a lot less space than storing the actual sound itself. Musicians use that. Popular demos in production synths nowadays are a Forklang, Klinkster, and Oidus. You can check those out if you want to do modern Windows intros. Of course, if you are doing sound for demos instead of intros, you are not limited by size, so you can do the sound in whatever you want, as long as it generates like a wave or an MP3 in the end. You can use Fruity Loops, you can use Ableton's Live, you can use Cubase, Reason, Logic Pro, etc. There are tons of music applications out there. So by the end of day 4, you should know what tools to use if you want to do a sound for a demo or music compo entry. Just try a few of them out, check some tutorials, learn the shortcuts, master the tool that you find most interesting. Don't forget to submit a music entry for Inertia Demo Party 2020. Day 5, the basics of code. Learning how to program is relatively easy. There are tons of books and free courses on the subject. Some people even made online lists of these things. There is a link on the GitHub repository of Teach Yourself Demoscene that you can follow, and it lists this. Some of the more common sites are Khan Academy and Code Academy. These are good places to learn how to program in general, and you need to know how to program in general before you start programming graphics in particular. Please excuse me. So yeah, you need to learn the basics well. You need to learn what are variables, what are functions, what are classes, data structures, loops and algorithms. All of these things can be read on any book for any language. And then once you have these fundamentals down, you should be able to start problem solving and figuring out how to build programs that resolve your problem, in this case, making a certain graphic effect. There are many programming languages, platforms, and styles of programming with their respective zealots calling which one is best. Some languages favor certain styles over others, so it depends a lot on how you feel like programming. Only after you test them all do you really know which one is for you. But overall, you should focus on the language you're most interested or comfortable with and try to do something with that. If you can abuse that, that's great. If you can't, try another language. Maybe you just haven't found the language. Like a lot of people hate C++, and then they go to C# and they love C# because they don't have to deal with the whole pointer mess or stuff like that. So find the best language that suits your inner self, that you feel comfortable with. To avoid initial frustration, you should probably start with something that lets you throw something on the screen without much effort. There are some programming environments such as Processing or Unity 3D. There are great ways to get into programming graphics, so try those. Whatever language, development, platform, or API that you choose to pursue, it surely includes some sort of graphic output canvas where you can draw upon it with pixels, triangles, or quads, doing some pixel shaders. Some folks have even prepared the Demoscene starter kit, so there's a link there that you can follow it and learn a bit more. There are many ways to program a demo. There is no such thing as a single best way. In other words, you should do demos as it feels most natural to you, as you're most comfortable with. As long as the entry gets done in time to get shown on the big screen, you're doing it right. The deadline for entries for Initial Demo Party is on October the 1st. So as long as you do a demo by October the 1st, you're doing it the right way. Some programmers get a bit caught up in the right way to code, reading a lot of books, following the best practices, debating them, learning new trendy methodologies, or endlessly refactoring their code and never actually release a demo. This is fine if you just want to learn about programming, but it's not so fine if you want to actually release demos. So it's up to you. Personally, I prefer to release stuff, but a lot of people prefer to be more knowledgeable of the platforms than actually releasing stuff with them. If that's you, I strongly suggest that you take a look at programmingmotherfucker.com and just release your first demo. Programmingmotherfucker.com is a great website where you put aside all the bullshit and just focus on programming. Another point worth addressing is that you don't have to prepare the entire development chain, tool, engine, framework yourself to do a demo. Some folks prefer to do work on the tools and engines and frameworks and then having other Demosceners use them to make demos. So you can just pick up other people's tools and try to make some stuff with that. While others hate developing tools and engines and just enjoy putting a demo together. Of course, it's useful to dabble on both sides of the spectrum, but at the end of the day, you should focus on what you're most interested or comfortable with. There are some great online resources to learn programming graphics in general. If you're interested in learning OpenGL, you can check the good old Nehe tutorials. They're a bit outdated, but they still teach you the basics of OpenGL. There's also the more recent Learn OpenGL tutorial website, which is also an interesting resource. And the more recent Bible of Modern Graphics Programming is also the physically based rendering book. I highly recommend this one. Most Demoscene effects in the recent years, from 2010 to nowadays, are heavily based on pixel and fragment shaders, which is a slightly different way of doing things. Back in the days, you used to put pixels on screen and define which thing you would do on each pixel. Then came 3D acceleration cards, and you would pretty much define what triangles you would put on screen and order of them and how you would map them. And nowadays, we kind of shifted things a little bit to how the computer, the GPU on the graphics card can do the pixeling of those triangles. And it became so advanced with parallel processing that you can just put 2 triangles on screen to cover the entire screen and do the entire effect on the GPU, telling what to do with the pixels. And it's a slightly different way on how you would program the pixels directly to memory. So it's a different way of thinking and programming, or slightly different way of thinking or programming. These can either be coded, these are called pixel shaders or fragment shaders. Also, now there's a version called compute shaders, which allows you to use the shader code for any purpose function, not just doing pixels. You can use them to generate buffers and particles and whatever, and then feed them to pixel shaders. Anyways, I'm digressing. These can either be coded in HLSL or GLSL. They're very close together. They don't vary much. To learn shader coding, there's this great book called The Book of Shaders. I highly recommend it. It's very spot on. It teaches you the basics and more than the basics, and it's great. Should read it. There's also a very well-known online sandbox for open source GLSL experiments known as ShaderToy. There are a few other sandboxes like that, but ShaderToy is the most known one. So you should definitely check out what other people are doing there. Don't be overwhelmed. There are a lot of excellent things there, not just beginner level, but there are also some beginner level stuff, and it's a great sandbox for you to test some effects and how to do stuff and learn from other people's code on how you can do stuff. If you're interested in doing smaller intros called bite-size or tiny intros or size coding, this can be between 128 bytes, 256 bytes, 512 bytes, anything below 1 kilobyte pretty much. You can find some great resources on this page called sizecoding.org. Highly recommend you checking it out. If you're more interested in the 1K, 4K, and 8K category, which is more focused around pixel shading nowadays, at least for Windows platform, there is this very interesting webpage called In4K that actually I'm also one of the main maintainers of, and that compiles all resources that you need to know to do 1K and 4 kilobyte and 8 kilobyte intros. Anyways, try to program a new effect each day and you'll eventually start to get the hang of it and figure out which areas you should read up on to improve your skill set. This is the basic advice that I can give you. Try to program 15 minutes each day and eventually you'll get better at it. So by the end of day 5, you should know what it takes to take on the programming role of demo making. Day number 6, tools and resources. There are many ways to do demos. Some folks enjoy coding everything from scratch. Others prefers to use tools to facilitate their work. There are many types of tools. Some are commercial, like Maya, 3ds Max, Photoshop. Others are open source or freeware. And then we have the so-called demo tools. Demo tools are tools made by Demosceners, especially to help create better demos. Demo tools are especially important if you're working on size-limited entries. Some groups develop their internal demo tools. Others prefer to go open source in order to have other people using them, or they just not using it anymore and they prefer to let the knowledge be shared with the world while they move on to something else. The end goal is just to make more good demos. Demoscene is highly competitive, but if you ask someone else for help, they won't deny you the help because they're weary that you might do better than them. They will usually help you reach the maximum that you can possibly reach, and everyone will learn from it, and everyone will try to do slightly better next time. I would strongly advise you to take a quick look at the different demo tools available and see which one you can use. This is important to avoid reinventing the wheel and achieve good results before you grow frustrated with the learning curve. You can find a good list of famous demo tools on Poet. They range from texture generators, music trackers, synths, or graphic tools, or format converters to full-feature demo making engines, executable packers, linkers, all sort of different stuff. Some people prefer making their engine from scratch, learning how things work. That's a perfectly valid approach, but if you want results, that's not gonna happen in 14 days. It's better to use a demo tool. And reinventing the wheel is very nice if you want to do the tools and engines for the rest of your life, if you want to be very knowledgeable on that. But there's a place where you need to learn to pick your battles. So to make demos, there's a whole wide range of different technical things. If you focus on the bottom one and you get very skilled at the bottom one, you will eventually do something very cool on the bottom one, but you will miss the other layers on top. So sometimes it's better for you to just accept that you're using someone else's for this part and focus on the middle part or the top part, you know. So yeah, think about that, but also follow your heart. If you know at heart that you rather learn how the engine works and not really so much about designing a demo, work on the engine. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. There's also a list put together by CC Opisic of all the demo tools with screenshots put together in one place for easy reference. There's a link here, and actually I will show you it quickly because I can. Here it is. So here you can see like a gallery of the different demo tools of different people. See, most of them have like a timeline of some sort. You can put things, you can define properties of things, and then schedule them. Some use the stack technique where things will go from top to bottom or bottom to top, and you can associate different elements, kind of like you do in the language Scratch. So a lot of different tools out there do a lot of different things. Some of these are public, some of these are private, but this should give you a good idea of how people do different things. And what they have in common and what the common problem that they are trying to resolve is. So yeah, you can scroll very very long down here. It's a very comprehensive list. We'll have to move on though because we're already 35 minutes in. The best way to know what tool might interest you is to either check them all one at a time. This might take a while, or you can visit a demo party on a location and just randomly ask another scener, how do you make your demo? What's the best tool? What are the pros and cons between all the tools that you use? And they'll usually just let you know. Your tools largely depend on your Demoscene role of choice and target platform, of course. So if you're a musician or a graphician, you'll use different kind of tools. So I hope you have a hint of what to ask other people in when it comes to demo tools. As you progress, you will notice several limitations and quirks with the tools that you use. You will most likely feel the need to either develop your own set of tools or contribute to active existing projects. Similarly important to knowing the tools of the trade available to you are what resources are out there, including free tracks, samples, sprites, animated models, usable tools, editors, engines, tutorials, ways to get motivation and support, including Reddit or IRC channels where you can get live people talking about. There's also Discord nowadays. It's usually a matter of doing a few Google searches or asking fellow sceners about their demo making habits, and you will very quickly find some sort of connection spot where you can ask questions and get some feedback. Nowadays in 2020, I mostly recommend Discord, but IRC is still pretty active. There are a few active channels on the Demoscene. Mostly IRCnet revision channel is probably the most active Demoscene channel. Demosceners typically have a very strong and very individual opinion on what is cool and what is lame. So the Demoscene has no written rules. Different people have different concepts of what their Demoscene is about, what the real Demoscene should be about. So it's quite easy to get negative commentary. You should realize that an opinion is just an opinion. You don't have to please everyone. The Demoscene is a hobby, so you should, above all, aim to please yourself. If you put effort and dedication into your entry, I'm sure people will acknowledge your effort regardless if they liked it or disagree with some of the shortcuts you took in their eyes to get the demo done. So a lot of people, if you don't do your own engine, they will tell you that you're not a real demo scener and that's not a real demo. That's their ego speaking. They spent a lot of years working on their engine and they want to be recognized as the best demo scener ever. So if someone doesn't follow their own rules, then they're not a demo scener. So each one has their own definition of demo scene, and you should understand that. A lot of people are more open-minded and they don't act like assholes like those people kind of do. But you should be aware that these kind of people still exist, and it has some merit. I mean, they are entitled to their opinion. I don't particularly agree with it, but it is what it is. But the demo scene is a hobby, as I mentioned. So do the demos that you want to do. Don't do demos to please other people. My recommendation is to always be honest with your sources. Entries typically have a readme.txt in the package where you write all the stuff like where you made a demo, where you got this, where you got that, what other people contributed somehow. This is a text document where you can describe your work process, what tools you used, and why. If you include proper documented information, the people who read it will no longer feel that they were cheated somehow when you didn't, credit Unreal Engine on your demo or something. Or used a ripped soundtrack or repurposed some shaders or used a commercial engine. They will evaluate it accordingly, I hope. That being said, the more original material and effort you put into your entry, the more impact it will have on other Demosceners. They will like it more. They will recognize the effort more. Generally speaking, reusing your with proper credit is generally considered fair game. Claiming ownership of someone else's work is not so. Don't pretend that someone else's work is your own. That's the main no-no in the demo scene and everywhere. No one likes plagiarists. On day 7, experiment. Whether you're a musician, graphician, or coder, there's one golden rule in the demo scene, at least for me. Don't be afraid to experiment. I promise you on first-hand experience that as long as you keep experimenting with things, you will eventually release something that you are truly proud of. So don't be afraid to experiment, even if it seems silly or stupid, or just try things. If they don't work, they don't work. That's fine. Experiment with tools, experiment with ideas, repurpose, remix, discuss things with others. Don't be afraid to fail. It's normal to fail. That's how you find interesting things. It's by failing. That's how you learn. So go forth and fail hard, fail miserably, fail often, and eventually you will succeed, and that will compensate for all the fails that you had. Don't expect your first track to be great. Don't expect your first pixel graphics to look good. Don't expect your first demo to be any good either. But I'll still want to see them at the Inertia Demo Party because you grow as an artist, and in me as organizer of the Inertia Demo Party, I want to contribute to you as an artist to grow and not be afraid to expose your work and get proper feedback on how it could be improved. The first demos from 90% of the demo sceners that are active are a total load of crap, so don't expect yours to be like a huge masterpiece the first time. Just do stuff, do more stuff, eventually it will get better. You should also be aware that it's quite common to get creative blocks or lose your motivation to do demo scene things from time to time. Just remember that demo scene is a hobby. You're free to do whatever you want at whatever pace you want. There are no deadlines upon you. There are a lot of parties all the time happening. You don't have to contribute to all of them. Just contribute to the ones that you feel like you're doing things for without burning yourself out. Some sceners took decades to release something, working on their masterpiece a little bit on and off, and they eventually released it and got highly acclaimed. So that's perfectly valid. That's perfectly fine. So at the end of day 7, you should now have a good grasp on the importance of experimenting with things. I think this is a very important lesson. Day 8, achievable goals. As previously mentioned, there are plenty of ways to make a demo. The only right way is your own way, the one that you are most interesting and fun for you. That being said, an effective rule to ensure a release will be released is to aim for achievable goals. If you are not reasonable with your goals, you'll soon find yourself demotivated and failing to meet the deadline. For most projects, it's better to start small and build on top of that than do it the other way around and then just get locked into something that is completely impossible to finish. If you have no idea where to start, here are a few random pointers. Some people try to replicate some effects after seeing something interesting on other people's demos, or movies, or adverts, or nature itself, building up a batch of different effects which can later try to be adapted and matched and masking other effects, stuff like that. You can mish and mash different things. Just try to do a new effect every day and eventually you'll figure out a way to glue them together. Other people prefer to nail down a concept first, like on pen and paper, that define an idea that they want to achieve, and only then get to work on its different components. It's also valid. Other sceners only feel the drive to create something when they are challenged with a very specific issue, Like you're a coder and you're extremely lazy to get anything demo related done. You don't have any ideas. You don't feel inspired. Suddenly a graphician comes to you and asks, "Oh, can you put this?" And you say, "Yeah, sure, that's trivial." Boom, and then it's done. And then, oh, can you make it like this? Oh, can you make it like that? And eventually you start working on a demo, even though you yourself don't really feel motivated to that. So if you're that kind of person, try to be open to supporting other people's visions. And if you're not, if you're the other kind of person, try to look for a person that wants to do something but does not feel yet motivated to do so, and try to push a little bit out of that. Beware not to be overstepping your welcome, of course. You should have a frank conversation with them beforehand that you are trying to do that, so you don't annoy the crap out of them. But that's a way also to work on a demo project. Some coders only do engines, frameworks, and tools, sharing them with other seniors to see what they can do with them. So if you know someone who does a cool engine, you can try to talk with them. They will give you a crash course on the engine and you can try to do something with that. Some graphicians fool around with engines and tools until something seems interesting. Some musicians prepare timelines and storyboards for their sounds so that the graphicians and coders feel motivated to do something with them. My cat is trying to jump on me for 5 minutes. Please jump. Thank you. There's the cat. Say meow. Let's move on. All these approaches are valid, as mentioned several times already. Demoscene is a hobby. Don't treat it as work. Do whatever you feel like it, when you feel like doing it. Don't overstress yourself with the demo scene. You probably already have enough of that at work. Don't use it as on the hobby as well. That's my personal pro tip. Some other pro tips to keep in mind. Pro tip number 1, there is a finite number of productive hours per day. There's a finite numbers of day until the demo party deadline. So aim for achievable goals. If you achieve them fast, then you can build on top of them. You already have something working. Pro tip number 2, if you have no ideas, try random things. Eventually, you will kind of come up with something, some sort of concept, something that looks interesting. So don't let the lack of an initial concept paralyze you into not doing anything. Just try something randomly. Try to imitate something that you saw. Pro tip number 3. Work on the project at least 5 minutes each day. Usually it's at 15, but 5 is enough. Just get started. Eventually you will waste a lot more time than just 5 minutes. Even if it's just tweaking some colors on an effect, that makes a whole range of difference, because you will keep the project in your mind. You will keep it fresh. You will think about what you need to do, what it already looks good, what other things you can try. So that helps a lot. Try to do it every single day. And pro tip number 4, communicate your progress with your teammates. They might give you important feedback. Like if you do a new effect, share that with them. Say, oh, I did this, I can do that, I can do the other one. They will let you know what they think. And you can also motivate them to contribute. Like if they see, oh, this would look great with this kind of sound or with this kind of graphic, they might contribute something to the demo that you are yourself working on. If you keep all of these things in mind, by the end of day 8, you should be able to lay down a work plan aimed at reaching achievable goals. That's what I expect from you. Day number 9, proof of concept. So now it's time to stop procrastinating and get your hands dirty. It's easy to have all these things in your head, but you need to actually start doing stuff every single day. Commit yourself to doing something every single day. It's been scientifically proven that anyone spending over 10,000 hours doing any task will eventually become an expert in it. You don't have 10,000 hours in 14 days, but it's a good start. It's very hard for the human mind not to learn something from mistakes, so don't be afraid to make your mistakes. As previously mentioned, fail often, fail hard. Eventually, you will succeed. It's normal to be afraid of tackling a new challenge. Some people simply lack confidence to tackle a new challenge. Others prefer to brainstorm and try to figure out the best way to attack the challenge before they actually start. That's also perfectly valid. There's nothing wrong with taking your time planning a strategy, but it's all quite useless if you don't actually sit down and try to get it done. So now's the time to sit down, try to get it done. Don't procrastinate it a little while longer. If you're feeling clueless, try using a whiteboard or the good old pen and paper. Drawing helps a lot for your brain to figure out how to put things in certain places. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. You don't need like a fancy doodle to know. Just to sketch some notes that help your brain have some sort of landmarks of where you want to go, and it will help you structure your train of thought. A sketch, some notes, a list of ideas, a list of tasks, anything like that. It really helps a lot your brain to figure out stuff. Mapping of concepts, even some simple workflow charts can be extremely helpful to get your thoughts in check. Force yourself to work on the issue at least 5 to 15 minutes every day. I already mentioned this. It's even if it's just analyzing what you have already or doing some small changes. Open your tool and try something. Force yourself to do that. You will see that it will increase the probability that you do something new quite drastically than not forcing yourself to do that. More often than not, you'll end up spending a lot more time than just 5 to 10 minutes than you initially planned. So this daily discipline is useful to keep the task fresh in your mind, so it doesn't get swooped behind other stuff that you feel like doing. If an empty canvas is too daunting, throw something random at it. Play some random notes, draw some random shapes. Random generators are an easy catalyst for a new idea. So just throw something there, and eventually you'll try to think of other ideas on how to work upon it. Trying to do a proof of concept for your idea is the best way to get things rolling, but don't expect the final results to match your original idea. Don't get disappointed if it's not what you had envisioned. At least it's something. Even if you conclude it's just a load of crap, going through the process of creating it, you learned a lot. You learn things which will help you on your next attempt to do your next proof of concept. You gain invaluable experience points from everything you do, so keep that in mind. By the end of day 9, you should be aware of the importance of building a proof of concept of your idea and some insight on how to break out of the Demoscene's procrastination curse. Some people are more affected by this than others. Don't let yourself be paralyzed by that. Day 10, deadlines are important. Nothing like a good old deadline to force you to shape your ideas into a finalized entry. Demoscene has a natural deadline called the next demo party that you're attending. In this case, it's Inertia demo party. Every Demoscener has an, oh shit, now I have to make an entry. I had mine a couple days ago when I realized I don't have any entry for my own demo party and I have a lot of compos, so I should probably do something. But I'm trying to finish this seminar video first and then I'll work on it. It usually comes right after buying the flight tickets to a demo party. There are no flight tickets for Inertia, but you're watching this video, so you must be feeling the pressure to do something. Act on it. Do something. Deliver. Sure, you could just go to the demo party and socialize or just watch it on the stream. Nothing wrong with that, except that everyone at the party will most likely ask you if you're working on an entry or if you have anything for the compos. And there is only such a limited amount of plausible excuses that you can offer to justify not having worked on an entry while there's still some time left for you to do an entry. Even a half an hour is plenty of time to do something for a competition. It might not be the Mona Lisa of the demo scene, but it's an entry, and it's good to participate on the parties, to contribute to parties. For those who didn't have time to do anything before the party, there are also compos known as fast compos, where competitions are prepared specifically to force you to do something within small time constraints. Sometimes they give you a theme, other times they give you a sample pack or something like that, and you have to do something within half an hour, 1 hour, 24 hours. It depends on the competition. If you don't have any releases for the party, you'll spend the event watching other people's entries on the big screen and wondering if you couldn't have done something that would place higher than that piece of crap that you just saw or heard. Happened to me more times than I would like to admit. Don't be afraid of the deadline. Deadline is your friend. It forces you to stop the dreaming bullshit and just focus on what's really important, getting stuff done. If the deadline wasn't there, you would most probably never actually deliver anything. You wouldn't close things out, just experiment a little bit. Art is never finished, only abandoned. It's a quote from someone that I don't quite know, but it sounded really good. Look at the deadline as the point in time where you will be liberated from your current artistic burden that is haunting you. After the deadline, you are free to move on to the next deadline. And if you don't buy into that philosophy, you can always release a final version of your entry later on. You can always fine tune stuff and release a final version, what we call the final version. By the end of the 10th day, you should realize the importance of deadlines, how not to fear them, but respect them for the panic and closure they can bring you to the demo making creative process. And day number 11, get help. You can do great demos alone. Lots of Demosceners make demos alone. That doesn't mean you have to. Most Demosceners prefer to work in groups. There are advantages and disadvantages to both approaches. Which one you follow entirely depends on your workflow and your ability to find people who share your vision. I, for example, have a very hard time working with other people because I like to doing very experimental stuff. It's hard to convince other people to come into that area. And sometimes other people don't take my views seriously, even after I've proven myself that I can do serious stuff as well. So it can be hard to find people that share the vision with you, but you should keep trying, and eventually you'll find someone who will understand your vision and would like to support you to achieve it in some way. Regardless if you work alone or in a demo group, you may sometimes find yourself in a bit of a pickle halfway through your demo making adventure. If you ever do, you should be aware that you're not alone and that other Demosceners tend to be helpful in all sorts of ways. They can lend you their insight into your problem. Like if you complain to someone what problem you're having, they might have been there already and have a way for you to crawl out of it. You can randomly ask them if they're interested in contributing anything to your demo. The worst that can happen is that they say no. They tend to also share how their workflow set up, so they can give you insight on how they set up their system to not have these kind of issues. You can send them previews of your work and get some feedback if you're feeling stuck and needing some input on where to go next. They can lend you computers to finish or submit your entry at the party place. They can bring you food, beer, coffee, moral comfort. They might even teach you how to use tools and tricks to make your life easier when you're doing stuff. My point is that there are plenty of other people that know what you're trying to do and will gladly help you where they can, but they won't if you don't ask for help. Most of them have already tackled that specific problem you're trying to solve, so why not just ask them for some insight? Demosceners are some of the most open people to give insight to others, where you rarely find that kind of companionship in the game development industry, for example. It might save you a lot of frustrating hours. That's my point. If you're shy to approach people, there are also recorded conference talks of Demosceners covering different topics of interest on the Demoscene, which you can find on the internet and learn from. So search for seminars on those specific topics and you might get some extra insight as well. By the end of the 11th day, you should know the importance of getting help when you are in dire need, and that Demosceners are typically easy to approach on any such topic. Day 12, crunch time. The good thing about a deadline is that you see it coming months ahead. Technically speaking, you can actually plan for something decent and start on time. Of course, this never happens in practical terms. Of course, that the thing about deadlines is that unless you're a total control freak, they tend to sneak up on you. You start off thinking you have loads of time, so you plan this huge, awesome project, and then as time grows shorter, you start realizing you aren't actually keeping up with your work plan and that your idea needs to be replaced by something much simpler. As I mentioned before, my suggestion to avoid this point of failure is to always plan realistically. Build the core of your entry early on and spend the extra time building upon it. Polishing things up, testing things on different machines, maybe getting feedback from other people, that kind of thing. Some folks enjoy procrastinating a lot, discussing what the project could be over and over again instead of actually trying to find things or trying things or following the plan to accomplish what was already defined. These people tend to reopen things that were already closed and done with, etc. This is not very productive in the long run. Planning things properly is very important, but at some point you need to stop planning and just close things and don't reopen them, because otherwise you won't meet the deadline. This is what crunch time is for. When the deadline is looming close and you desperately want to finish a release, you enter crunch time and you close things down. Crunch time is only over when you close things down, so focus on closing things down. Crunch time means you and your team are sitting down together in a room or online to work on things that need to get done, not leaving until they are done. No interruptions except for food, bathroom, and sleep. So get all of the things removed from the to-do list and just focus on finishing the demo. Productivity under crunch time is often higher than average, but it will soon start to deteriorate as the crunch period extends itself. This is normal. You and your team are only human. You will get tired and start to lose focus and patience. Long crunch times can be counterproductive. They can also leave you quite burned out from wanting to do other stuff, so learn to plan ahead and avoid unnecessary crunch time periods. Typically, crunch time should only be enforced to wrap things up, clean the last bugs, implement the last effects, integrate the final artwork, tweak some colors and syncs, that kind of stuff. To push the project forward, some people enjoy doing their projects in semi-regular sprints. A sprint is a short period of time where you enter crunch mode, totally focus on that project alone. So just focus on that thing. They are great ways to kickstart a project, for example, or tackle a specific project hurdle like a bigger issue of the project, or just add more content to a project that's been sitting around for a very long time. When you're planning your project and defining some sprints or crunch time, be aware that your end result is never quite what you intended to achieve. Always reserve some buffer time to redo everything, clear bugs, or scrap everything and start anew. Buffer time typically is an extra 20 or 50% of what you realistically estimated for the task. Some people are more horrible than others at predicting or controlling how much time they will spend on each specific task, and require bigger buffer times or a simple reality check to help them close the task and shift their focus to the next task on the plan. This is more project management than anything else, but crunch time is very important because you have to manage between getting things done realistically and not burning yourself out. So that's why I decided to dedicate a whole day to explaining really what crunch time is and why you shouldn't abuse it and should try to find the right balance in it. Creative projects always take longer than initially expected. This is completely normal, and the only thing you should do about it is to expect it. It's not obvious enough. Let me lay it out explicitly. It's due to the two very simple reasons. Any creative process involves dealing with unknowns, and you can't estimate unknowns, so it's impossible to estimate how much you will work on a creative process. A project that falls exactly onto its predicted time frame is a project where you were surely not being creative. Things were already completely lined out, and you didn't deviate at all between the plan. It's fucking boring, if you ask me, but go for whatever rocks your boat. A good rule of thumb is to deliver on time. Is to always keep your code base fully playable, like always have something that is working. If you are missing assets, sound, or graphics, use something as a stand-in. Put some pink textures, put some weird sounds. Use that, and eventually the musician or the graphician will replace those. Don't spend too much time on them. They will end up being replaced later on. So just do them as quickly and horrible as possible. Just make sure that they are in the expected format, and then send that preview to the person whose responsibility is to change that and ask them to replace. And that should motivate them a little bit more. Focus your time tweaking something else until you hear back from the person for a new version. Day 14, the real party is outside. So demo parties are where Demosceners gather to meet each other, finish their productions, and share them on the big screen. At some point, folks realized that there was more to life than sitting inside a smelly party place finishing entries. They realized there was a whole world out there to be explored. I'm, of course, talking about the outside of the party place, where the Demosceners gather to meet each other, talk about how late they are running to finish their productions on time, or just idle around waiting for the compos to start on the big screen. As it happens, inside of demo party halls, regulations tend to be more strict. You usually can't eat, drink, or smoke. Sometimes the sound is too loud. In other occasions, they won't let you make any sound of your own. And so, after a few hours of working on your entry, you tend to enjoy walking outside to get some air instead of just staying inside the whole time. This is the perfect opportunity to socialize with fellow Demosceners who are doing the same. Don't be scared to approach other Demosceners. Just to ask them who they are, what they're working on, what they have for the party. They're usually friendly people, despite typically shy and introspect or introverted. This is why Demosceners are known to mention that the real party is outside, because most people are outside the party place. In COVID times, this is a bit harder to replicate, but you still have chat rooms and that kind of stuff where you can talk with other people. I'm going to skip some of this part because it's related to demo parties in itself. Socializing is important. Seniors are usually quite social. Don't be afraid to talking to random demo seniors, even on online chats. Don't be afraid of introducing yourself to people whose work you admire. By experience, I can tell you that they will most likely appreciate your interest and share with you some of their thoughts on your own work, on your own methods, if you present to them. They might even give you some insights and motivation on how to improve the entry you are currently working on. That being said, don't be an annoying person. Try to restrain yourself to some level. Last but not least, remember not to be an ass. No one likes annoying people, be them demo seniors or not. If you can't communicate without being rude, keep your opinions to yourself. If you can't hold your alcohol, don't drink yourself silly. This should be common knowledge, but it's always useful to keep in mind. So by the end of the 13th day, you should know where the real party is located and not be afraid to go there. Don't forget to go outside. Day 14, last day. Excuse me. So, the main point that I want to make on day 14 is that Poet is not the Demoscene, and the Demoscene is not Poet. So, Poet is pretty much the largest website on the Demoscene, but it's not the Demoscene. It doesn't represent the Demoscene. It's a part of the Demoscene. It shows a little bit of the Demoscene, but don't judge the Demoscene based on Poet. The same way you shouldn't judge Poet based on the Demoscene. After the demo party comes the official release of your entry. Most entries nowadays are automatically released by the party voting system. This means that they will be uploaded to the internet. Dozens of people will be able to download, watch, listen, and inevitably leave their public comments on your entry. You should be aware that most people say things online that they would never say in person. Keep in mind, you cannot see them, or you often don't even know them, so it's quite hard to understand what they mean exactly and quite easy to take negative feedback the wrong way. Don't fall for this trap. You're smarter than this. Poet.net is a website where most Demoscene entries are listed and commented by the international Demoscene community. And like any online forum, it's quite easy to get misunderstood and start a flame war over the silliest of things. So this is the most important thing you should know about Poet. Poet is not the Demoscene. Don't judge the Demoscene based on Poet. And also, the Demoscene is not Poet. Poet is a place where you write your opinions on each other's entries. It can also be a great source of community feedback. Some people got a lot of good things out of Poet. Poet is also unexplained memes. There are pigs, there are buckets, there are pictures of ponies and trumpets. Don't make the mistake of reading the comments on Poet and taking them too seriously. Demoscene, on the other hand, is what you make of it. It's a supportive community, it's a culture. Some people even call it a family or a way of life. So by the end of this 14th day, you should know all about the Demoscene, how to make your first entry, the importance of attending demo parties, getting releases finished in time, and getting to know the community. And above all, the Demoscene is about having fun, doing digital art. So make some demos and have fun. So yeah, that's all I have to read to you. This was the Teach Yourself Demoscene in 14 days. Some acknowledgements. This was written by me, but had some fact checking and typo checking and other kind of stuff by CXW, Danny, and Hardy. The original idea for this text was by Saga Musics. So yeah, that's the text that I wanted to present to you with some insight from my own experiences. I think it's pretty insightful. It goes to the point, and if you follow it, you get to learn all of the different aspects of the demo scene. The coding aspect, the music making aspect, the graphic making aspect, and the whole project management thing, which is something that is sometimes overlooked, or initially overlooked, until you actually need to start doing something. A lot of people are not used to project management. They tend to work alone, and then only when they join a company they start understanding what project management is about. So Demoscene is a nice way if you're still in university, or even lower than university. If you have not worked on a team before, Demoscene is a nice way to get to learn this soft skill, not only of finding out ways on how to deal with other people in a positive way, an engaging way, a way that brings results. But also, what did I want to conclude from that? It's a nice way to get those soft skills, and also get things done and learn, get to know other people, get to experience other things. So I learned a lot about organizing projects by doing stuff on the demo scene before I got the job. And when I finally got my first job, I realized that I was really good at project management and organizing people, even though I'm an extremely rude, not rude as in insulting, but very blunt and direct kind of person. And I have sometimes trouble dealing with people and sustaining some friendships because of that. I say things as I see them. I'm very good at detecting bullshit. So that somehow makes me a good project manager. Not in the sense that I'm good at dealing with the people, but I'm good at dealing with the deadlines and calling out bullshit when I see it, and not letting people getting engrossed in their own bullshit and procrastination. So that became a valuable asset when I went to the company. Despite me not being very good at dealing with people, I became very good at dealing with projects and deadlines and that kind of stuff. Anyways, that's the video seminar that I wanted to give you guys. Hope someone find this useful. If there are any chats, we'll have a live Q&A after this video. Also, feel free to put some comments below if you're watching this on YouTube later on. I will be around to answer them as well. So please have fun making demos. Any questions or any help that you need, feel free to post. And as I mentioned, Demoscene is a pretty open community, so we'll love to hear from you and answer your questions. Just don't be the kind of person that asks a question before Googling it. Like, at least Google it. Don't expect people to be Googling things for you. As long as you keep that rule, people will usually not mind answering you questions that you have regarding the demo scene or any demo scene related things. So yeah, that's it for the seminar. Thank you everyone for watching, and see you next for the Q&A. Bye bye everyone. Take care.